Hello, I'm Anthony David Hobbs, and this is my review of Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. And as you can probably gather, this one is chiefly concerned with William Shatner. Because you see, when Star Trek IV was about to be made, William Shatner was reluctant to do another film. And Leonard Nimoy, he directed Star Trek III and Star Trek IV. And the actor William Shatner said, I'll do a fourth one, but only if I can direct a fifth one. So, okay, that seemed a fair deal, yeah. Star Trek IV was a huge success. Not only did William Shatner get to star in it and direct it, but he got to write part of the script as well, and he did the outline of the story, you know. And Star Trek V gets a lot of bad publicity. All the fans say how awful it is, but I'll give my take on it. It's not quite as bad as all that. It's not the worst Star Trek film ever. Well, the first time I ever saw it, yes, I thought it was terrible because the new Enterprise A, goes on a mission to find God, find the planet where God can be located, and spoiler alert, they find the planet, yes, they go through the Great Barrier, all kinds of obstacles in the way, and when it's almost the end of the film, they get there and it's not God. It's an imposter, an alien entity pretending to be God. That, when I first saw the film, was a huge disappointment, We're promised God, what's he like, what's he really like, what are his orders and commandments. But no, it's an imposter. So that's quite an anticlimax. I've just been through all that for nothing, yeah. But however, when you see it the second or third time, it's not so bad because you know what to expect, so you won't have that big disappointment. So it's bad the first time you see it, but not so bad after a few times, yeah. And I'm going to defend Star Trek V. It's not quite as awful as all that. Well, for instance, some could say it's a stupid idea. Why would members of the Federation go on a mission to find God? They don't. They don't want to find God at all. The spaceship is taken over by a religious terrorist force who force them to go there whether they want to or not. So no, they didn't want to. They had no say in the matter. So if you look at it that way, it's not such a silly story after all, yeah. And the character of Sybok, he basically steals the Enterprise, breaks lots of Starfleet regulations and all that, but it's all justifiable to find God, Some inventors and scientists break rules to get something that can benefit all of humanity. So yes, he breaks the rules to find God, yeah. And he justifies his actions by saying, every different culture has a religion, worships a god of a sort, Is this just pure coincidence, or is there really something out there where the questions of existence can be answered, yeah. So in other words, Sybok doesn't feel guilty about stealing the Enterprise and all these other crimes. He doesn't feel guilty because it's all justifiable to find God. So you can imagine his disappointment when it's not God, it's an imposter, and he feels guilty about all those crimes he committed, yeah, because there was no justification at all. So yes, that's quite well done, yeah, the movie isn't all bad. And when Sybok, the god or imitation god that has many different faces, Sybok says, who are you really then? Show yourself. And the fake god shows Sybok's face, Now, I didn't quite understand that thing, but I think I understand it now. Basically, the fake god is laughing at Sybok and looking like him. He's saying, I'm no more a god than you are. And you're incredibly stupid for thinking I was a god in the first place, yeah. And then Sybok sacrifices his life so the others can get away. So he makes a good sacrifice. So yeah, I thought Star Trek V, it did have some good moments, but it also had a lot of bad moments. Like the Enterprise, yeah, it looks good and everything, this Enterprise A, but nothing works on the spaceship. Now, excuse me, it's a brand new spaceship. How can stuff not be working? Well, for comedy, for comic relief, for plot convenience, that's why. Because there were lots of jokes in Star Trek IV, the public liked that. They didn't like the jokes in Star Trek V, though, no. So, as I was saying before, Star Trek IV, it's a good idea to do a comedy Star Trek if it's a one-off, but don't do any more comedy Star Trek films. And I suppose that's where Star Trek V fails, because there's too many comedy elements, yeah. And Captain Kirk, who's now Captain, not Admiral anymore, he says, Sybok has this power to take away your pain, your emotional pain, and he says, I don't want my pain taken away, I need my pain. That's what makes us who we are. If we lose that, we lose ourselves. In other words, he's saying, being open-minded is good, yes, but if you're too open-minded and too peaceful, then you don't have your guard up. then you're oblivious to danger. So that's not a good thing. Being too open-minded is a bad thing. And that's what he's saying about Cybok. You're too open-minded, too optimistic, if you like. And, okay, yes, we have Klingons again. Yes, we have Klingons again, Couldn't we have Romulans for a change, or Andorians? No. The villains are Klingons. They proved to be very popular. But one of the problems of the film, because Star Trek V was quite rushed, the special effects for the Klingon spaceship, instead of going smoothly like that, the Klingon spaceship sort of moves a bit awkwardly like that. So that they'd cut some corners, The Klingon spaceship looks a bit cheap with the special effect, which is really rather bad, because this is the main antagonist, You've got to have good special effects for this, but it cloaks and then decloaks for firing like it does in Star Trek 3. But, yes, they cut some corners. The movie was rushed a lot. And I'll be honest, I think it was called The Final Frontier to get people to flock to the cinema. This is the big deal, the last Star Trek film ever. And it was released at more or less the same time as Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And that also was supposed to be the last one. So that'll make you go and see it, because this is definitely the last one. It's a big deal, the last one. And it's called Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Well, what is the final frontier? The ultimate adventure. The thing that cannot possibly be topped, But when I was a kid and saw it's a fake god, I thought, that's not the final frontier. That is not the ultimate adventure. That's a disappointment. But I don't think the fake god was the most disappointing thing. No, the most disappointing thing of all was, why do they sing row, row, row your boat round the campfire? I mean, yes, it shows that Spock, Bones and McCoy are really good friends. They're on shore.